Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be? Great oration and great action go hand in hand. In our current bureaucratic era in the West, where we are ruled over by scientific managerial apparatchiks, we have successfully separated the thinkers from the doers in our society and culture. Think about it. How many philosophers do you know who are carpenters, and how many carpenters do you know who read philosophy? Now, while I'm willing to bet that it goes more one way than the other, the fact is that we have successfully divorced actual risk-taking and action from the process of managing risk-taking and action. When that happens, the people who take all the risks and engage in the actions of the real work don't feel respected or valued by the organizations or institutions their work bears up and supports. The managerial class who leads the action-oriented doers, of course, becomes puffed up by its own ego and its hubris and arrogance, which can't allow it to exit the ivory tower of scientific managerialism, descend into the trenches, and invariably get its hands dirty. This is the divide in America and in the West overall, and it's even deeper than the divide between the rural areas and the urban areas. Although such a physical representation of a philosophical divide and a psychological and spiritual divide is one that everyone can see, but very few have a genuine solution for. Although, perhaps the way to heal this divide is not through leveraging mass communication or the presence of mass media. Perhaps the way to heal this divide is not through mass academic training or K through 12 indoctrination. Perhaps mass conscription into the military won't solve it either, because that institution happens to be as bureaucratically bad as the country it seeks to protect. The way to heal this divide is indeed for families to move out of the cities, move back to the land, and start learning, whether it's through YouTube or your next door neighbor, how to actually work with your hands. And of course, teaching the children. We didn't get to this separation between thinkers and doers overnight, and we won't bind them back together overnight either. And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right.
Well, that's it for me.